You mean to tell me that we need to feel intimidation from Warren from Empire Records? What the?
Before we get started, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell for more content in the future.
Don't Breathe 2 is the sequel to Don't Breathe. It's a continuation of that story, but not really. We're kind of swapping from the antagonist to the protagonist now, and instead of it following the group of teens or the crooks like the first film did, we're actually here and following the blind man, which is a very, very good character. I'm very puzzled why they went this direction to where he's now the protagonist. He's more at the forefront. He's trying to protect this girl from these guys that are trying to capture her, and they're breaking into his house. And that's pretty much like the first half of this movie, is them breaking into this house. And then we get into the second act, and there's some spoilers that I'm not going to reveal here on this channel, but there's other videos that has done spoiler reviews if you want to see that. But I think the experience is better if you don't know what happens in the second act and some of the twists that come. They're not like big reveals or anything, but it does bring the movie up another notch, because for some reason, this movie, it's not a bad movie. I'm not going to sit here and shit all over this movie, but I'm very puzzled why they went this direction. This time, it's not Fede Alvarez in the directing chair. I think he is a producer, and he did co-write this. Director for this one is Rodo Sayuguez. Sorry if I butchered that, but that's as close as I can get it. I think this is his first directorial debut, and he did a very good job. You can tell that they really are a team, and they came together with this story, and it's very intriguing. Is this a horror movie? No, it's not a horror movie. There are some terrifying shots of gore and blood, but as far as this being like a horror movie, the same vibe that I got from the remake of Last House on the Left, with those crooks breaking into the house and everything, and the way the blood and the action was all taking place, and it was just very gory. It's not really a horror movie. Yeah, there are some horrific themes that are going on throughout the film, but they're not really technically a horror movie. I want to say straight off the bat that I think The Blind Man is one of the best thriller characters, horror characters, whatever you want to call them, in cinema in recent years. I really think that there's a lot of films that, like horror films, that are like based around sound, that the killer can find you. Like, you can go all the way back from, like, if you want to do creature features like Tremors, or you could do The Descent, where the creatures are in the cave. Just recently we had A Quiet Place and A Quiet Place 2. These are very tension-filled scenes, but whenever you're dealing with sound, instead of where your antagonist can't see. But in this one, the antagonist is the protagonist. They do go back and forth with it. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? He admits that he's not a very good guy. He's done some things in his life, but all of us that has seen the very first film, we all know how that movie ended with the turkey baster scene. You can't say that this guy is a good guy by any means. You can't root for this guy. It's just like the remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street, whenever you find out that Freddy Krueger was a pedophile. Well, a lot of movies we rooted for Freddy Krueger, and he was just supposed to be a child killer, and they kind of alluded to some of that stuff, but they didn't really show it. But in some of the sequels that we started rooting for the bad guy, and when it came to that remake, we couldn't, just because of the themes of the movie. And that's the same thing that's going on here, is that we know what happened in the first movie. That's what we're coming off of. And we're supposed to root for this guy or feel sympathetic. And there's parts where this guy is getting beat up. He's sounding like he's being tortured. Everything is well crafted. The bad guys are really bad. There's some veterans. You know that the blind man is an ex-Navy SEAL. So there's very it's not a boring movie. It's fun to watch, but as a movie, like I feel like the first one has a rewatchability than this one does, because this one I was just kind of like, okay, I've seen this before. I'm not really feeling the transition from the antagonist to the protagonist. I just couldn't get behind it. You're more rooting for the little girl to survive this whole thing. Like I said, later on in the film, you find out why these crooks are after her. And it makes the film a little bit better. I kind of wanted more of a connection to the first film, because we know that the girl in the first film, she survived at the end. So I was kind of hoping that we would like see some type of like connection to that. But this is like its own story. It's kind of like its own thing. But just this movie is labeled as a horror thriller drama, and I just don't see the horror in this. I don't. I mean, we're like in this phase in cinema to where like every old man is an action hero. Like the guy that's down on his luck and has nothing to lose and is trying to protect his loved ones. Or, you know, we got John Wick, or we got, you know, Taken, stuff like that. And, you know, if you're going to be an action movie, be an action movie. If you're going to be a horror movie, I know that the themes are really going for more of a horrific like kills in this, and this is like a one-time watch for me. I just kind of like, by the time it was getting near the end, I was just like, all right, let's just hurry it up. I just wasn't feeling this one. That's all I can say about this, is that I just wasn't feeling it. And I am a fan of Fede Alvarez. With the first Don't Breathe, with the remake of Evil Dead. I wish they would do a follow-up of that. I know they got Evil Dead Rise coming out, but I don't think it's a continuation of that. I think that it's a continuation of like the original or something. He does have an upcoming Texas Chainsaw Massacre film that I'm looking forward to. I hope they land that one, because we know the last few Texas Chainsaw movies just didn't hit it, did not feel like Texas Chainsaw. So yeah, I am a fan of Fede Alvarez. I did not see the girl with the spider web or spider tattoo or dragon tattoo or whatever. I didn't see that one. I do need to go back and see that. But let me know in the comment section below if I should check out that movie, because that's one that I just kind of forgot about. But in the first Don't Breathe, you have these three characters that are going to break into the blind man's house, and you're following these characters. So once you do get to the blind man, and you see what he does and how he acts towards stuff and how horrific he is, you start feeling this real tension for these kids, these teenagers that are broken into his house. How are they going to escape? And the tension it was like a bottle. It was just like building up and building up, and it just felt like this bottle could burst any minute. And that's how the movie was felt. But this movie kind of starts off with like showing the blind man day in his life and the connection with him and this little girl. And I kind of got Joel and Ellie vibes from The Last of Us in this at first. No, it's not exactly the same. You know, you don't have zombies or, you know, the infected or anything like that. But that was the vibe I was taking from it. I was like, oh, this kind of reminds me of The Last of Us, with the relationship between Joel and Ellie. But and because he's really taken this girl under his wing, he really cares for. He doesn't want anything bad to happen to her, and we know from the first film that, you know, he lost his family, and that was the biggest thing that he wanted, was to have a family, and he would go to any lengths to get that, horrific lengths, you know. I if you just know the end of that movie. And so in this one, it's just hard to feel sympathetic for him. So you really got this. The only tension that you're really feeling is from the little girl. You want her to survive. You want her to make it to, you know, the outcome of this, and that's where I feel like it just like kept dragging on and dragging on and dragging on, and we're only here for like the bloody violence, and that's cool. I love you know, horror violent stuff in my cinema, Carnage Candy and stuff, but it just here I just like. There was a couple of cool moments, like a screwdriver in the cheek. Once you see this movie, or if you have seen this movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That was kind of cool. I don't understand why he didn't just rip open his mouth or with the screwdriver. I feel like you could do that too, besides puncturing his cheek so he could breathe. But and there was other tension moments like now you're going to see what I see, you know, what happens to the main bad guy, which is Brendan Sexton III, who, like I said at the beginning of this video, is Warren from Empire Records. And that's where, like, I think that the tension wasn't there for me, was that just, I don't know, I felt like, I don't know, I can't be intimidated by this guy. He didn't seem very intimidating. Yeah, he did seem kind of odd and everything, but some of his henchmen seemed more intimidating than he did, and it just it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me with this transition, this flip around and everything. And I know, you know, let's try something new, let's try something different. I'm all about that. But in this case, I think this is just like a one-time watch for me. I'll just stick with Don't Breathe. This does have a pretty conclusive ending. They may be able to do a prequel to this movie, or maybe a spin-off or something. But it is, if I had to rate this, I would give it a C+. I would give it a C+. It's good. It's good enough. But is it something that I'm going to want to revisit every time that I feel like watching Don't Breathe? Probably not. I'm probably going to stick with the first one. And the only time I would probably watch this again is if I was with a group of friends that has not seen this one. And that would probably be the only time that I would actually, you know, check this one out, maybe do a double feature at Halloween time, which, you know, I don't even know if I would do that, because like I said, I just don't consider this to be a horror movie. I just don't. I mean, he's like a blind Terminator almost. I mean, yeah, he is. He can get hurt. He does get hurt, and it shows that, you know, that he's not invincible. But I mean, the way he kills people, it's like he's coming through and he's wrecking some shit. So yeah. Anyways, have you seen Don't Breathe 2? What'd you think about it? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you have seen this movie, where would you like to see if they do make a third one? Do you want them to do a prequel? You want them to do a spin-off? Because, I mean, I really don't know where you could go with this story now without just keeping retreading the same waters. So, yeah. Anyways, that's all I got to say about this. I hope y'all are having a fantastic Tuesday. This is Destination Station. As always, I'm Destin, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.